Hello, my name is Alessandro Baronti, president of the Rigo RAM, and today I bring to you the training on creating an experience. This training module was designed to help you really be able to create a connection with the evolving expectation of a patient of yours that is visiting your practice, expecting more from you, just so much more than a great medical experience. This is a given. We know that you're going to do that, and that is now becoming an expectation. But that patient now that is expecting to find something more, to really see that patient that is seeking for a memorable experience. That same patient of yours that in the same environment of your practice is actually becoming a patient consumers as soon as that patient transition into the retail segment of your practice. In an environment where brands matter, but for brands to matter, brands needs to really live in the right space, meaning that brands needs to come to life. So how do we do all of this? It sounds pretty complicated, it sounds abstract, right? But allow me to walk you through step by step on how we can actually create this specific connection. I'm going to walk you through 7 different steps to be able to really understand how to create this experience. The first step is going to be curated assortment. We're going to understand together on why this point is critical to really be able to deliver that experience in telling a story about the product that you choose to really be able to represent who you are in your specific community. Then we're going to go into a visual merchandising concept of the big question, right? Do I merchandise by brand? Do I do it by gender? What is right? What is wrong? In a context where there is no right or wrong, it's just a matter of how do you want to communicate with your specific consumer base. We're going to move into a vignette merchandising to really be able to tell the story of a specific brand and make the story resonate to your consumer base. We're going to talk about merchandising in shelving or on a peg system, and what is the difference between the two and how that is perceived by your consumers. We're going to talk about visual merchandising in open versus closed sales and which way may be best for you. We're going to talk about the windows of your practice, that they represent really the eyes of your practice, right? And then we're going to do an exercise together where we're going to do a virtual tour of a dispensary, and we're going to try to understand what is right, what is wrong, how can we further improve in creating that specific experience. Making a choice on which brand to carry in your dispensary is a very important decision because it's going to tell to your consumers base about who you are, it's going to express the identity, and it's going to create a very specific connection with the demographic in your area. There is an entire training module related to that, so I'm not going to repeat that, but I would strongly suggest you to take that module to really be able to help you to fine-tune the inventory. Now, after you make a choice on which collection are relevant for you, which I would suggest you to do that choice among 20 different brands, where 21 is becoming one too many. So we know now that we need no more than 20 brands. Each one of these 20 brands that you're going to choose to represent your practice not only has to be carefully selected, but has to be now carefully represented. And you really need to start to think about the architecture of these, the component of this specific brand. The brand needs to be relevant. The brand needs to be very well represented in the story of the brand. So if it's a specific gender brand, let's say it is a brand that is only male or only female, obviously you will stay focused on that specific category. I always suggest to balance the mix between optical and sun, where 75% of the DNA of the brand is supposed to be optical and the rest in sun. Balance the different type of material between acetate, metal, rimless, three-piece mounting if that specific collection has that specific segment. And when it comes to critical mass, make sure you select the right critical mass to really be able to tell the story of the brand. When you ask to your sales consultant what is the minimum order to really be able to activate this brand, I will say to you the minimum is too minimum if you really want to sell that brand. Never buy a specific line to make a window display. Always buy a specific line to allow that specific line to become a profit center for you. When it comes to numbers, I will not consider any brand with less than 30 or 40 units. This is really the right balance of a product to really represent a brand. Also, as a buyer, you don't want to buy one of these or one of that. You always want to go in depth in color. I suggest from 3, not less than 2 different colors for each specific styles. See, today a specific style tells a story not only in the material, but as you can see in these pictures, also in the lens story, especially if we're talking about sunglasses. So do a good balance, and also stay true to the ideal assortment of each collection. A professional business consultant should be able to tell you what is a specific ideal assortment for each collection. And I would suggest you to follow those guidelines, because an ideal assortment represents a component of bestsellers, newness, and definitely product with an history of sell-through. On the top of that, you want to put your unique taste behind, and yes, you want to bring also some of those styles that maybe are not going to sell every day, but those specific styles that are called conversation pieces, that they're unique, they're different, and they can spark a conversation with your patient. Merchandising by brand or gender? Which way is right? Well, let me see. If I merchandise by gender, it's easier for me because the ladies are going to be in one side, the men are going to be in one side, and it's going to be easier for me to direct my patient in a specific area of my practice. Nothing wrong with that. And for some of you, this may work, but I can tell you that now if you link product to a specific brand, now you have the opportunity to really bring that specific product to life by leveraging on the power of the brand. So my suggestion to you, I would strongly suggest you to re-merchandise all of your practice in a way where you leverage on the brand power. Whichever brand you selected, you want to group the product together, highlight that product with a beautiful logo plaque right on the top. You may want to merchandise the men's on one side, the ladies on another side, unisex in the middle, and sprinkle the sunglasses along with the optical to really be able to tell a 360-degree story of the entire brand. You also may want to consider, if you want to stay true to that gender type of merchandising, to also create an area where you have your more generic product, especially the product that is lower price, where you may want to choose to divide that specific segment by gender if you feel that is necessary for you. I want you to think about that brand that you decided to bring into your practice, where it was a requirement for you to really merchandise that specific brand together. I don't want to mention any names because I don't want this presentation to really become an advertising, but I want you to think about that success that specific brand may have in your practice, and I want you to think about what was the reason behind that success. Well, maybe one of the reasons was because of the critical mass of that specific brand that you brought into your practice was actually higher than the average facing of any other collection that you brought in. But why not even thinking that the success of the brand was because you actually leverage on the fact that all of a sudden that became a destination point, what the brand was living in one space where you actually merchandise it in a way that it was actually highlighted compared to any other brand that you have in your practice. So think about the opportunity to take that concept and start to duplicate that concept over and over and over again where maybe in the best case scenario you duplicate the concept by 20 because you have 20 brands in your practice. And all of a sudden, that pair of glasses that is just one front and two tempo, all of a sudden it comes to life because now it is leveraged with the name of the specific brand on the specific glasses. Vignette merchandising is intended to highlight a specific collection in your practice, so the collection becomes apparent and it becomes a destination point and a connection point for your consumers. As you can see in this image, the highlight of two specific brands, Carolina Herrera and Tools, is very evident, leveraging on several components, an image, a logo, the curated assortment of the brand, mixing optical and sun, from dark to light in terms of visual merchandising. In a visual merchandising strategy, there are different components that are very important for you to use and leverage on. Dedicated space, as you can see over here, logo at the top, lighting has to be at the best, image to create a connection with the actual brand. These are really the key element of visual merchandising. And I suggest to create this type of environment to really bring the collection together. In this specific case, both collections are unigender. They're both a female collection, so there is no problem of mixing or dividing male and female. But if it is a situation where you are actually mixing both gender, in this specific case, as I was mentioning before, you will have the man on one side, the lady on one side, the unisex in the middle, and the sunglasses sprinkled in the actual display. This type of concept is really going to help you to really create a very interesting, high-catching type of optical environment where from the distance, now you can actually spot a relevant brand in your practice. My challenge to all of you is to walk in your optical dispensary, look at the optical dispensary from the distance, and in less than 10 seconds, my challenge is for you to really be able to read the board and be able to tell yourself which collection do you actually carry in your optical dispensary. If the product is not relevant to you from the distance, it's not going to be relevant to your customers. Now think about your optical dispensary. You may carry 600, 1,000 frames, maybe even more than that. Think about the level of inventory that you have sitting in their optical dispensary. It is a shame if that product inventory doesn't jump out virtually out of the display and screams for attention. Look at me, look how special I am. That really will engage consumers in that type of impulse, a type of purchase, and the connection with the actual brand. Shelves versus a pegs system. Which one is right and which way is more effective? And I should also add, what is the actual perception that this type of merchandise create in the eyes of your patient consumers? Well, I can tell you that when it comes to pegs, a pegs system is automatically associated with value, where a shelving system is associated with quality, with the luxury type of product. So consequently, if you take a luxury product, an ultra luxury product, or even a fashion type of product, and you merchandise that type of product in a pegs system, you remove value right away from that specific item. Especially if the peg system doesn't allow you to show the beauty of the aesthetic of a frame, that in most cases is actually in the side and the temple pieces of an actual frame. You can have different type of pegs system that you can use. The one that you're seeing in this image is actually a free-floating system that actually allows you to actually see the specific beauty of a frame, and actually has a locking mechanism included into that. But definitely, I would strongly suggest you to implement a strategy where all of your best product, all of your quality product, all of the product that you're trying to highlight is actually merchandised in a shelving system. And on a shelving system, you may decide to use a different type of plexiglass pegs that they can hold 2 or 3 different pieces, as long as the temple work of an actual frame is specifically displayed in a proper manner. But I will not discount the peg system. The peg system can be used to merchandise value product, entry-level product, so you can actually create that perception that you are affordable, you have something for everybody, and especially if your demographic is not a super ultra luxury demographic where you want to appeal to different type of category of consumers, you definitely want to implement a system that it delivers like the flavor of an hybrid type of environment. If your goal is to communicate to your patient that you are strictly a luxury in an ultra luxury environment, I would definitely suggest you to go for a shelving system and only a shelving system. So the big question, do we lock the inventory or do we leave the inventory open or close a sale? Some of you don't have an option. You have to lock the inventory. Frame have a tendency to stick sometimes, right? But there is no doubt that an open sale system, it's a better system in terms of allowing to patient the opportunity to shop. Now, if you do have to lock the inventory, I suggest you to lock the entire inventory. You definitely don't want to have an hybrid situation where some of your inventory is locked, some of the inventory is open, because what you're going to notice very clearly that the area where the inventory is open, that type of product is going to sell the most, and the area where the inventory is locked, that type of product is going to get penalized. Now, if you're trying to increase the profitability in your practice and you're trying to leverage in a situation where you want to upsell, leveraging on the benefit of vision care, you definitely don't want to create a roadblock where having product that is locked is going to prevent you and your staff to be able to allow your patient consumers to really to freely shop in your optical dispensary. In the case where you have theft issue, I would suggest you to invest in a monitoring system instead of actually locking at the product. But once again, if you have to lock the product, I would suggest you to lock the entire product. Over here on the right, you can actually see an image of product that is locked on a PEGS system, and on the left you can see an example of an environment where everything is merchandised in shelving and everything is an open cell.
So omnichannel, what is this really means? That means enabling a retail environment to provide to an evolving consumer's expectation both a feel and touch experience with actual product, enhanced by a fully integrated digital experience where the product comes to life in many different ways. First of all, in this digital screen, you can build a fully integrated digital catalog to really be able to overcome an online type of objection, offering to your patient a different option of colors that you may not have available in your full inventory. Now, all of a sudden, that takes your optical dispensary to the next level, enhancing the presence of the product from whatever you have today. It can be 700, 1,000, and even if you have a lot of product, let's say 1,500 different facing, to virtually infinity. The opportunity to have the availability of 1,000 of different styling options. But it's so much more than that. Imagine the opportunity to upload in this digital screen a full learning center in terms of brand storytelling with videos, PowerPoint presentation, images slide show, where the traditional POP, the posters, the banners are today an obsolete type of technology, fully replaced by a digital technology that it can be refreshed and uploaded in virtually just a few seconds. And what about a learning center? What about a fully integrated learning centers to be able to explain Lancet technology to your patient with the support of digital? Imagine being able to upload this technology to be able to do demo about polarization lenses, air coding, show to your patient the difference about the lens colors and all of the different cool, unique coding that today are available in the marketplace, and how those specific coding or lens enhancement can address the lifestyle's necessity of that specific patient. Omnichannel today is not an option. It's really a must if you really want to elevate the experience of a consumer's patient that is really expecting more from you. So now we have a fully integrated omni-channel experience. So fantastic, your practice is now projected to be in the future. Now we can actually handle an online objection, because folks, it's not relevant for you to have a website. As long as you have a digital catalog with a fully integrated omni-channel, you're ready to go and you can overcome online objections all day long. And I know that this is a topic that is very hot right now, and every single day you're challenged with this, especially with those millennial type of consumers, right? They come in with their phone and they snap a picture of your product, and you know that at that point you're pretty much a toast, because they know that they can buy that product online for $50, $100 less than what they see on the board. But they don't know any better. So we need to educate them on the reason why they should buy from you instead of going into their website. So how do we do that? Well, we have to do that in a very non-intrusive way, leveraging on education. So put your education hat on, because you are a professional, and let's learn together on how to be able to overcome this specific objection. So let me role play with you, and let's use Susie as an example. And Susie, I notice you're looking at this frame in our board, in this black frame over here. In our online stores, we have many different other options in colors and many other styles for you to choose from. At that point, you want to give it to Susie, you want to hand it to Susie either an iPad, or take Susie to your desktop, or even better, engage Susie in a digital screen like you see in this image on this presentation. As soon as Susie is engaging, actually browsing for different product and color, you can see that it's going to be a very interesting experience. You want to step back. You want to give it your patient the time to really be able to engage with the experience. At some point, you want to step forward and you want to ask questions like, for example, so how are we doing? Did you find something that you like? Oh, not yet? Okay, I'll come back with you in a second. Okay, you find this frame in green that you like. Let me check availability for you in our online store. You want to repeat that once again. Fantastic, the frame is available. We can have it in our practice in 3 business days. Susie, the doctor requires for all of the product to be sent to our practice. The reason is because your prescription requires a professional adjustment and alignment. So this specific frame that you're looking on a board, which is just a sample, after we're done, it becomes completely custom tailored to your need. Now, along with that, we also offer a 1-year warranty. It's a full coverage warranty. Now, and also a lifetime adjustment of the actual product. You can come in anytime, we'll adjust it, we'll clean it for you, we'll tune it up, and we'll do an oil change, an alignment. You want to make it funny, right? So you can actually keep the patient engaged. This professional service is a $150 value. We don't charge you for it, Susie. It's already included in the price of our product. Along with that, I noticed that you have vision benefit. As a matter of fact, you have incredible vision benefit. Your vision benefit will save you about 40% on the price of the frame and the lenses. Now, Susie, you need to know that you cannot use your vision benefit when you go shop online in one of those online stores. But since you are in our practice, even though we're looking at product in our online stores, I'm going to be able to actually process your insurance benefit and save you that 40%. How is that sound? Oh, you like that? Well, I knew you like that. And by the way, thank you for your loyalty. We appreciate you being our patient for so long, and we really value that. Susie, let me have your credit card. We're gonna put a little security deposit, and as soon as the frame comes in, I'll let you know, and we'll do all of the measurements for you. Thank you, Susie.
The windows are the eyes of your practice. The key over here is to engage and to intrigue the attention of a consumer that is walking by or driving by. In a context of creating a window display, it's very important to keep it simple. So please don't overcrowd your window display with seasonal material like Christmas tree or eggs for Easter or leaves for fall. And please do not put a tower on the window with actual product. The window is not designed for that. The window is designed to tell a story of one brand with just a few styles, because you're not really going to sell the product that you put on the window. It really is really designed to attract. You don't want to give the story away at the window. You just want to intrigue the consumers to wonder what is going on inside the practice. So this is a typical example of a beautiful minimalistic window display. You want to change your window every 30 days to keep that excitement. You almost want to build the stories about your patient coming to see your window every 30 days to wonder what you have done different. What are the new things that you carry in your practice? So it really creates a lot of excitement if it's done and maintained properly.
So we covered a lot in this presentation. My goal is for each one of you to walk away in a position where you can actually implement 2 or 3 techniques that you're taking away today to be able to enhance the patient-consumer experience in your practice. To do so, we're going to do a practice journey exercise. We're actually going to virtually walk through a futuristic practice. We're going to analyze the practice together, and together we're going to come up with a solution for you to really be able to integrate. So what I would like you to do is to carefully watch this video, and then we'll come back and we'll go through step by step through the journey. Okay, so I hope you enjoy it, and let's start with the outside of the practice, of your practice. So you want to always think about your existing practice compared to the information that we are going to look at together and see if there is an opportunity for you to apply any of those learning. Now, you can be in a medical environment, you can be in a shopping mall, you can be into a shopping plaza, wherever you are, the window display are always relevant because the window are the eyes of your practice. And what the window is supposed to do, they're supposed to communicate and engage with the walking by or the driving by consumers to be able to entice that specific consumers to eventually come in to become your patient and eventually your patient consumers. Now you want to leverage on the window. Now look at this specific image. What I would like to do is for you to pause the presentation now, and if you're looking at this presentation along with other peers of yours, I would like for you to brainstorm about what you actually see in this image and how you can actually apply some of this learning to your practice. As soon as you're ready, resume the presentation and we're going to look at it together. So what do you see over here? You see 3 stories of 3 specific collections highlighted by the images and just a sprinkle of product. Not too much product, just enough to be able to entice. One thing that is probably missing from this window is what? Well, maybe a logo, right? To really be able to tell which specific product you actually have in your practice. Actually, I like to see on the window maybe a description of all of the different collection that you actually have in your practice. Maybe on one side of the window, done in a very nice and elegant way. Another thing that I like about this image is the fact that it is see-through. You can actually see the practice from the outside. And imagine at nighttime when you leave the lights on, what kind of a beautiful effect this kind of a window display can actually have. So very nice, very present the practice very, very well. And I hope you can take away from this type of concept something that you can actually apply to your practice. So let's move to the next step now. Okay, so now we are in the actual practice. So let's look at this image together. This is really the first impression, right? So look from left to right, and I would like for you now to pause the presentation, go into a brainstorming section with your peers, and let's come up with the idea and solution based on what you see, based on your current practice. What are the things that we can actually apply, change, modify, integrate? So now if you're ready, let's review this experience together. As soon as you walk into the space, you want to have an immediate connection. First impression is the key. You want to set up an environment where the person that is working behind that desk is fully geared to be able to welcome your patients with a beautiful smile, engaging with them by making every single patient feel special, that they came to see you, or even better, came back to see you again. Never take anybody for granted, and if you do not start the experience with a smile, you're not going to finish the experience with a smile. The first 2 minutes will really set the tone on everything. So let's look at the setup of the actual space. As you can see, it's very minimalistic, and the desk needs to be clean. It cannot be crowded with paperwork. The person behind the desk cannot be overloaded with work and multitasking, otherwise they're not going to be able to pay attention to the patient, so be mindful of that. Everything that can be moved in the back of the practice in an office space, I suggest you to do so. Any type of administrative type of job, incoming calls, scheduling appointment, checking insurance, filing insurance, everything should be done in the back of the practice, not in the front desk. This is really a concierge type of approach. I like the fact that I see images of product all over the place. It creates an instant connection. I like the logo on the top. You definitely want to have your logo. What I think is missing on the wall is a mission statement. I would suggest you to print on the wall your mission statement. You want to tell to your patient about not only who you are, but also what do you do for your community and how do you support the society. 77% of your patient consumers love to support company and brands that give back to the community and the society. So you also want to leverage on that. I also like the fact that this space is not busy. There is no medical filing out, everything is very simple. Now I do not feel intimidated to walk forward and really be able to immerse myself in the actual experience. So now we're looking at the right side of this practice as soon as you walk in, and where there is a full layout of a product on the wall and 3 dispensing table station. So I would like for you to pause and kind of discuss this with your staff. Look at this image, tell me what do you actually see that is right, what are the things that actually can be improved to further that specific connection with your patient consumer. So let's stop. And now if you're ready, let's review this presentation together. Well, first of all, let's talk about real estate value. Now you know that your practice has a different type of real estate value based on the setup of the practice. So when consumers walk into a practice, they have a tendency to shop from the right. So in a situation where you're not going to assist your patient in the selection of the product and they're going to browse for product, technically this is actually going to be the primary real estate if they're browsing for the product. But the actual primary real estate becomes, in most cases, the area where the patient will be able to interact with the product as soon as they come out of the medical lane. So imagine that patient walking from the medical lane into the optical dispensary. As soon as they are in your optical dispensary, look to the right. That will be your primary real estate in your actual practice. In that specific area, you want to highlight your best product. Your best product in terms of branding and also in terms of price point. Why is that? Because see, if you self-assist the patient, this is a moot point because you're going to bring a product to them. But if they start to browse on their own, 90% of the time they will buy the first frame that they try on. So if in your primary real estate you actually have product that is completely covered by insurance benefit, all of a sudden you're going to lose, and also the patient is going to lose because they're not leveraging on this amazing benefit that they have to actually buy something better, and everybody deserves something better, right? So let's start to think that way. So let's look at this picture together now, and what are the things that can actually be enhanced? Well, first of all, this dispensing table represent a barrier to be able to access the actual wall unit. So I would suggest to space out those tables in a way to make the area more accessible. That would be the first thing. The other thing that I don't see in this image, I don't see any logos, and so it's very important to be able to tell from the distance about which brand that you actually have in your practice. You want the inventory to scream, and you want to create that connection, as we learned in the presentation earlier about the storytelling of your product. So the application of logos is very important over here. I also don't see a lot of digital. I do see some desktop on the dispensing table, but I really don't see any digital type of experience on the wall. It would be nice to have maybe a couple of monitors on the top, and maybe even having some integrated digital experience as we saw in the previous video about the omnichannel. Now we're looking at a traditional dispensing table station, and so let's look at this image together. Tell me if this is what you have today in your practice, how that is working for you. How can we evolve this experience? So why don't we pause, talk to your peers, and let's see if we come up with some ideas. Now, if you're ready, let's look at it together. There are several things that I like. First of all, the pristine condition of the environment. See how clean and organized this specific area is, where there is a cabinet with drawers where you can actually put all of your stuff. There is a desktop, a mirror, nothing else on the table, and it should really be that way. But what is missing in this experience? What I would like to see in a practice of the future, I would like to see a high top table to really be able to create that connection in a way like you feel when you go to an Apple store, right? Where in some cases you don't need to sit down with a patient to actually do a consultation or a dispensing. You can actually do it on a high top table as the patient is standing up, especially if you're dealing with a millennial type of patient. And now it becomes a more engaging one-on-one type of experience. It's almost like it's almost like a digital bar, right? Where you can actually have a digital asset on this digital bar, and you're standing and you're really having a conversation with the patient, and more casual. That's just a sit-down type of experience. So my suggestion is to integrate both options to be able to accommodate different need of different type of patient consumers. Okay, now we're looking at a different segment of the practice. This segment is dedicated to kids. So let's look at this and let's think about how relevant is your kids segment of your business, and let's think about ideas on how we can further evolve this type of experience. Let's pause. Let's talk with your peers, and then we'll resume. And if you're ready now to analyze, so how big is your kids segment? Are you specialized in pediatric optometry? Is this relevant for you? If not, most likely it is between 5 to 7% of your overall business. So how many frames do you actually have today in the kids segment? If you have 1,000 facing, if it is 5% of your business, you should not have more than 50 frames. Now, is it relevant to dedicate an entire wall of your practice to 5% of your business? Or maybe we can keep this product in drawers, on one of these cabinets that we saw before on wheels, to really be able to create more of a custom tailored type of approach. Now look at your dispensary, analyze that. Definitely, if you don't have a huge optical dispensary, it would be silly for you to dedicate this kind of real estate to a segment that represents less than 5% of your business. So share this idea internally, and let's see if we can come up with a valuable solution for your practice. Now we're in the medical lane. Let's explore this important space together. Again, let's pause. Let's discuss with your staff. What do you see in this image? What do you think is relevant? How can you actually connect this with your practice? And what are the takeaways? Now, if you're ready to analyze, what do I see over here? Well, first of all, one thing that I don't see, it's a commitment to a pre-testing station. See, what I will do in this practice, I will actually take that wall where the kids segment is, I will make it a glass wall see-through, and I will dedicate an entire room to pre-testing with state-of-the-art technology, where you can actually make a statement to your patient about we're serious about the medicalization of optometry. This is all of the equipment that we have to really be able to take care of you as a patient, and you want to reinforce that with every single patient. What I like about this medical lane is the fact that it's very minimalistic. I like the fact that there is a good integration of technology with a desktop, with a monitor on the wall, and because at the end of the day, folks, the medical experience is supposed to be engaging. The patient, as they interact with the doctor, they need to know exactly what is going on, and they should be able to follow the eye examination as the doctor is proceeding with the eye examination, being able to follow the screen and be able to understand what is actually going on. Another thing that I like is the fact that there is a visual on the wall. It is not the traditional medical message, but it's more in tune with the product offering. That I also create an engagement with the actual product. So now we're done with the medical examination, and the doctor is actually walking the patient in the optical dispensary to do the end-off in the optical dispensary. And I see some things that really intrigue me, and I would like for you to pause and really think about the type of connection that you feel, compare with your practice. Let's come up with some ideas, and when you're ready, let's analyze it together. So let's resume the presentation. Let's analyze what we can actually see over here. What I like about the fact that throughout the entire practice I can see images of product. Now, as a patient, I'm engaged about in the experience. I am walking into the optical dispensary, and the first thing that I see right in front of me, primary real estate, is two different racks of pegs, a type of merchandising. What we learned before, we learned that the message that the pegs communicates is more of value, like accessible product. I like the images, but I don't like the fact that I see the pegs right away. I would prefer in that specific area actually to see shelving, and I would prefer to see two premium collections really highlighted, because this is a primary real estate. Most likely, at least if it was me, I would be engaged right away in those displays to be able to start to select some product. And let's go forward with the journey. Okay, take the time to absorb. Now we are actually in the dispensary, and think about this image with your staff, and let's get ready to analyze. Okay, let's analyze it together. What do I see? I see some very important elements. The first thing that I see is a waiting room that is fully integrated into an optical dispensary. Very important to do that. The last thing that you want in your practice is to have a waiting room in a completely different size of the optical dispensary. You're almost telling to your patient, go sit down over there. Do not really engage with their optical dispensary that is a state-of-the-art, where we have about $100,000 of inventory. Be comfortable in that chair on the other side of the optical dispensary. You don't want to do that. You want to create that integrated experience. See, if I am a patient sitting in those comfortable chairs, most likely I'm going to hear other patients engaging with the product, having fun. And as I witness that, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to start to browse myself as I'm waiting, because I am now engaged. Another thing that I like is I continue to see images of product all over the place. What I like about the primary real estate area over there, as you can see in the image, I can actually see the logo from the distance. So there is an instant connection with the actual product. So let's further explore this space together. Now, this specific display is a shelving display, and one thing that I don't see here, once again, is the logo, and I don't see any type of digital experience. It is beautiful, it is clean, the product displays very well, but a nice logo and a nice digital interaction, a nice image, can really take this display to the next level. And this one also, beautiful shelving type of unit. Each single frame is glorified in this dedicated space. I know that above the display there is actual logo, so that creates a connection, but what is missing over here is images. If I was you, I would integrate images on the display, and I would always prefer digital images. Okay folks, we're at the end of the journey. We can see the aerial view of the actual optical dispensary. This is the traditional horseshoe type of dispensary setup. Strongly suggest this type of setup because it gives the opportunity to the patient to go through the journey, where as soon as you come into the practice, the optical dispensary is in the front. As you can see, the size of the optical dispensary is significant. represent at least 50% of the square footage of the actual practice. So 50% is retail, 50% is dedicated to medical and administration space. And as you can see, when the patient comes back from the eye examination, they're really immersed into the optical dispensary, as we said before, where the space on your left becomes primary real estate, with the selling stations and the dispensing station on the right of the image. I hope this presentation helped you to really be able to take away 3 things that you actually implement probably today.
I would like to thank you. I hope you enjoyed the segment. Looking forward to address myself again to you. Bye-bye.